New Jersey's home prices didn't just rise, they raced. In town after town, a single year delivered six-figure jumps. Here is the ground truth. In December 2026, the typical U.S. home value stood at $359,078, up just 0.1% from a year earlier. In New Jersey, a sweep of 50 cities and towns told a different story. Buyers were still competing for a limited supply of housing, and that pressure translated into sharp price gains. Some places sprinted, a handful sprinted the hardest. Start at the top. Deal closed the year with a typical home value of $4,127,662 after a one-year increase of $339,174. Alpine reached $2,981,806, adding $286,361 in 12 months. Lock Arbor rose $242,046 to $2,880,330. Saddle River added 207 PA, $827, landing at $2,180, $3,701. Those are not marginal moves. That is a market moving by house-sized sums. This isn't a flash in the pan. Over 5 years, Deal's typical home value advanced by $1,966,242, a 91% climb. Lock Arbor rose by $1,408,394, a 95.7% surge. Allenhurst added $1,115,504, up 104.3%, reaching $2,185,129. Seagirt rose $1,770,000 across 5 years, up 79.5% to $2,275,343. These are communities where demand met scarcity and drew a new line on the price map, then redrew it again. What happened? The real estate frenzy, spurred by the coronavirus pandemic, continued into December 2027-5, though at a slower pace. Increasing mortgage rates slowed growth, and some places saw prices decline. But buyers still competed for limited supply, and in key New Jersey enclaves, that competition lifted values decisively. The result is a tale of two markets, a national figure barely budging, and neighborhoods in the Garden State writing six-figure updates into their ledgers. Drive north along the Palisades and into Bergen County's high ground, and the numbers sharpen. Demarest posted a one-year jump of $156,620, a 12.7% rise to $1,388,103. Franklin Lakes climbed $145,864, a 10.6% leap to $1,526,032. Saddle River's $207,827 gain, 10.5%, is already on the board. Alpine added $286,361, another 10.6%. Englewood Cliffs, facing the Hudson, added $120,725, up 7.8%, reaching $1,675,663. Ridgewood rose $74,796, a 7% increase, to $1,142,556. Wyckoff added $75,850, up 7.5%, to $1,083,888. Old Tappan added $59,749, up 5.3%, to $1,176,589. Upper Saddle River climbed $65,127, 5.1%, to $1,342,672,000. Woodcliff Lake increased by $67,468, up 6.1%, to $1,181,015. Gloucester rose $17,1751, 7%, ending at $1,112,184. Palisades Park advanced $67,727, a 7.7% gain to $944,897. Glen Rock added $63,314, up 6.8% to $997,577, just shy of the seven-figure threshold. River Edge matched a 7.7% rise with a $57,671 increase to $806,803. Each figure is its own storyline. Together they sketch a county where upward pressure is broad, not just at the highest end. Head west and south through Essex and into Union and Morris, and the picture remains firm. Short Hills rose $120,563 over 1 year, up 5.8% to $202,226. Milburn, its neighbor, added $60,167, up 6.1% to $1,184,088. South Orange rose $80,512, an 8.4% jump to $1,035,189. Maplewood added $62,974, up 7.5% to $899,232. Montclair increased by $61,844, up 6.1% to $1,081,750. Roseland jumped $60,737, up 8.2% to $798,556. Essex Fells added $95,632, a 7.5% rise to $1,369,834. Livingston added $53,726, a 5.5% increase to $1,026,961. In Union County's western edge, Summit rose $105,697, up 8.8% to $1,311,256. Westfield climbed $63,307, up 5.5% to $1,208,422. Chatham added $80,942, up 7.7% to $1,257,148. Nearby Florham Park rose $67,084, a 7.3% increase to $981,400. Mountain Lakes added $60,507, up 5.6% to $1,160,281. Madison rose by $53,743, a 5.8% gain to $984,383. The cadence is steady, 5 to 9% growth year over year, layered atop values already near or above $1 million. Now turn the wheel toward the water. Along the Monmouth and Ocean County shorelines, a string of barrier island towns and oceanfront boroughs posted gains that would stand out in any era. Bayhead's typical home value rose $174,477, up 8.1% to $2,320,2,964. Seagirt added $172,462, up 8.2% to $2,275,343. Allenhurst gained $166,804, up 8.3% to $2,180 to $5,129. Mantaloking rose $138,000 to $2,772, up 7.6% to $1,960,573. Harvey Cedars climbed $106,511, up 5.5% to $2,050, $3,126. Spring Lake added $119,657, a 9.7% surge to $1,347,475. Avon by the Sea rose $60,275, up 3.8% to $1,650, $4,225. Interlake in Advanced $80.97, $97 up 6.3% to $1,507,903. Rumson added $92,280, up 4.6% to $2,086, $407. Lock Arbor's $242,000 gain, 9.2%, put it at $2,880,330. Deal's $339,174 increase, a 9% rise, took it past $4 million. Along Long Beach Island and its neighbors, Barnegat Light rose $50 to $9,252, up 4% to $1,526,912. Long Beach Township added $58,705, up 3.1% to $1,927,028. Ship Bottom climbed $64,851, up 4.9% to $1,400,320. Beach Haven added $53,950, up 3.5% to $1,605,665. Point Pleasant Beach rose $52,908, up 5.9% to $1,266, $673. On the southern stretch near Atlantic City, Margate City rose $63,970, up 6.5% to $1,043,514. Strathmere climbed $56,457, up 3.8% to $1,531,355. Each rise echoes the same note: competition, scarcity, and concentrated demand along the coast. Watch the 5-year horizon again because it shows the underlying arc. Mantaloking's 5-year move, $793,719, up 68%, puts its current value near $2 million. Seagirt's 5-year gain, $794, up 79.5%, pushed it into the mid-2 million range. Harvey Cedars added $825,616 in 5 years, up 67.3% to cross $2 million. Bayhead's 5-year rise of $882,952, up 62%, landed it at $2,322,964. Long Beach Township gained $804,140 in 5 years, up 71.6%, and now sits at $1,927,028. Barnegat Light added $594,337, up 63.7% to $1,526,912. Strathmere rose $642,417, up 72.3% to $1,531,355. Spring Lake climbed $539,625 in 5 years, up 66.8%, now at $1,347,475. These are not isolated spikes, they are multi-year trajectories, shaped by persistent appetite. Not every story is 7 figures. In Haddonfield, the typical home value rose by $56,908 in 1 year, up 7.7% to $797,480. Rosalind's $60,737 gain to $798,556 marks an 8.2% rise. Maplewood's $62,974 increase to $899,230, up 7.5%, sits just below $1 million. River Edge's $57,671 jump to $806,803, a 7.7% boost, shows that price power extends beyond the most affluent zip codes. But the gravitational center of New Jersey's fastest growth remains clear: luxury enclaves and shore towns, where the annual change can surpass $100,000. Why those places? The signals point to a simple chain. The pandemic-era shift lit the fuse, pulling buyers toward space, lifestyle, and specific neighborhoods. Even as mortgage rates climbed and cooled national momentum, inventory stayed tight in these pockets. That scarcity, matched with deep demand, kept bids strong. Some properties needed a different touch, and when they got it, they moved. One luxury team sold a fellow broker's home for more than $250,000 above its prior list price after rethinking how it was brought to market. The same team represented 7 of the 10 most expensive residential sales on a statewide multiple listing service across 2024 and 2025 and has surpassed $600 million in closed transactions. Presentation, positioning, and precision still matter when the numbers are this big. That detail, the gap between a home that sits and a home that sells, lands in the hands that touch the deal. In New Jersey, several professionals put measurable speed and scale on the board. One agent's listings sell in an average of 23 days, 12 days faster than the regional average, while ranking in the top 1% among more than 15,000 active agents in the state's listing system. Another secured an above-list offer on a Cliffside Park condo in just 24 days. Consistency at scale shows up too. More than 500 successful transactions over 3 decades in Bergen and Hudson counties. And in South Jersey, a brokerage with over $1 billion in closed sales over more than 20 years now guarantees the sale of a client's home, or they buy it themselves, locking timing into a plan that reduces uncertainty for sellers who also need to buy. Speed isn't just a selling skill, it's being coded into construction. A Franklin Lakes development firm with over $100 million in active projects built a proprietary platform that uses data analytics to identify high-potential acquisitions and manage projects end-to-end. Their stated effect, compressing a typical 12-month build cycle down to 7 months. In a market where limited supply has been an engine for price gains, shaving 5 months off a build timeline is not a footnote. That is potential inventory arriving sooner, particularly in the custom and luxury segment. On the ground, competition hasn't gone away. One buyer on Long Beach Island, after losing twice to all-cash offers, found a property listed at $999,000. Emotions ran hot. The instinct was to match the number. The agent advised a $950,000 offer instead, and they won at that price. The lesson: even in a market of rapid appreciation, strategy can still beat adrenaline. Zoom back to the map of gains, because each town is a puzzle piece in the same picture. West of the Hudson, Inglewood Cliffs' 7.8% rise added $120,725 in a single year. Old Tappan pulled in $59,749, up 5.3%. Ho-Ho Cuss rose $80 to $3,603, 7.3%, to $1,225,507. Ridgewood's $74,796 bump, 7%, put it above $1,140,000. The cluster effect is obvious. When one high-demand town tightens, the pressure bleeds into neighbors. In Essex County's belt, the momentum holds, but with nuance. South Orange's one-year gain, $80,512, 8.4%, pushed its typical value past $1 million. Maplewood tracks 7.5%, Montclair 6.1%, Livingston's 5.5%, and Essex Fells 7.5% show similar slopes with different baselines. Short Hills, already over $2 million, added $120,563 in a year. Stability at a high elevation still translates to sizable dollar moves. Union and Morris reflect a similar pattern. Summit's 8.8% climb stacked $105,697 on top of values already over $1,300 million. Chatham added $89,942, 7.7%, to reach $1,250, $7,148. Florham Park's $67,084 gain, 7.3%, climbed to $981,400. Mountain Lakes, a 5.6% rise, added $60 to $1,507 to hit $1,160, $281. Madison's $53,743 increase, 5.8%, took it to $984,383. If you're scanning for towns where a 6-point rise equals a $60,000 swing, you'll find them here. The Shore's 5-year arcs show the deepest current. Harvey Cedars, up $825,616 across 5 years, 67.3%, stands at $2,053,126. Seagirt's $1,000 and $7,794, up 79.5%, places it at $2,275,343. Spring Lake's $539,625 jump, 66.8%, lines up with an almost 10% one-year surge. Barnegat Light's 5-year gain of $594,337, 63.7%, raises it to $1,526,912. Strathmere, up $642,417 in 5 years, stands at $1,530 to $355. Long Beach Township's $804,000 5-year rise, a 71.6% climb, puts it just shy of $2 million. When 5-year surges are 6 figures and 1-year gains still add $50,000 to $170,000, momentum has both memory and muscle. Under the headlines and percentages, people still have to move. Seniors downsizing, first-time buyers piecing together financing, families relocating on tight timelines. One agent's year-to-date sales volume neared $8 while juggling urgent moves and connecting clients with special financing programs. Another leverages a personal network of contractors to replace a hot water heater on closing day and still deliver the keys on time. One realtor works the phones from 8 in the morning to midnight, using enhanced digital placement to give listings premium visibility. Behind each number is coordination, inspections, repairs, staging, and strategy. The state's luxury segment is also being curated with intention. A Bernardsville specialist markets not just square footage but lifestyle, using premium film editorial-style descriptions and global digital targeting to pull in qualified high-net-worth buyers. In one case, a modern home with commercial-grade systems, previously listed by multiple brokers, sold within 2 months after being reframed for the right audience. That turnaround mirrors the larger point of this market. When scarcity meets skill, time on market compresses, even at the top. Look again at the 1-year percentage gains for context. Demarest's 12.7% leads the pack among many northern towns, translating to $156,620. Franklin Lakes and Alpine Clock in at 10.6% each, Saddle River at 10.5%, Summit at 8.8%, Spring Lake at 9.7%, Allenhurst at 8.3%, Seagirt at 8.2%, Bayhead at 8.1%, South Orange at 8.4%, Inglewood Cliffs at 7.8%, Chatham at 7.7%, Mantoloking at 7.6%, Wyckoff and Essex Fells at 7.5%, Ridgewood and Gloucester at 7%, Westfield at 5.5%, Madison at 5.8%, Montclair at 6.1%. These are modest percentages by stock market standards, but when the base is $1 million, or 2 single-digit percentages, are 6-figure stories. Even communities that posted smaller 1-year percentage gains are notable for their base levels. Long Beach Township's 3.1% translates to $58,705. Beach Haven's 3.5% means $53,950. Strathmere's 3.8% still adds $56,457. Avon by the Sea's 3.8% adds $60,275. Where the baseline is above $1.5 million, every point and decimal is a lot of money. This is the who in sharper focus. High-equity homeowners in Bergen, Essex, and Union towns, Ridgewood at $1,142,556, Summit at $1,311,256, Westfield at $1,208,422, are navigating moves where preserving equity is the mission. First-time buyers in Maplewood at $8,990, $232, or Roseland at $798, $556. Face markets where even a 7% rise compresses options fast. Vacation home buyers across Bayhead at $2,322, $964, Seagirt at $2,275,000, $343, and Spring Lake at $1,347,475 are contending with towns where 5-year gains have stretched into the $500K to $1,000 range. For each group, the tactics differ, but the terrain is the same: limited supply, localized demand, and price tags with commas that matter. The broader economy's role shows up in the break marks. Increasing mortgage rates have slowed growth and even pushed some places into decline. That's the counterweight. Nationally, December's 0.1% annual uptick to $359,070 to $8 looks like a stall. Yet New Jersey's fastest risers kept moving. The implication is straightforward. These towns are not immune to rates, but scarcity and income profiles blunt the impact. Where rates bite hardest, competition lightens. Where buyers have staying power and supply stays thin, sellers still have the upper hand. Layer in how marketing and operations have evolved. A luxury team consistently ranked in the top 1% of a statewide MLS by sales volume represents one side of that shift. Analytics-heavy campaigns, multi-platform messaging, and sharp negotiation can transform outcomes. In another corner of the market, a development operation automates key parts of the build process, shrinking timelines from a typical 12 months to 7, which could feed supply into the very segment where buyers wait longest for the right product. In South Jersey, a 2-decade veteran runs a marketing company that happens to sell real estate, staging each home, deploying in-house appointment setters, and guaranteeing the sale to reduce the most stressful variable, time. Across the middle of the market, you can see how this plays out in days, not months. An above-list offer in 24 days in Cliffside Park. A slate of listings closing on average in 23 days, 12 days faster than the regional norm. A portfolio of more than 500 closed transactions, built by doing the same thing over 25 years, tight presentation and steady communication, shows that the playbook works across cycles. There's also a spread visible across towns, not just in dollars, but in identities. Short Hills at $2,200 and $2,226 after a $120,563 rise sits in the same list as Haddonfield at $797, $480 after a $56,908 increase. Old Tappan at $1,176,580 after a $59,749 gain stands near River Edge at $806,803 after a $57,671 jump. Westfield's $63,307 rise to $1,208,422 is paired with Florham Park's $67,084 move to $981,000. This is a statewide pattern, not confined to a single corridor. The specific numbers vary. The pattern rhymes. Strand by strand, the 5-year data shows the most persistent currents are along the water and among premium northern suburbs. Allenhurst more than doubled in 5 years, 104.3% to $2,000, $185,129. Lock Arbor's 95.7% buildup reached $2,000, $880,330. Deal's 91% sprint took it to $4,000, $127,662. Seagirt's 79.5% ascent to $2,275,343, and Mantaloking's 68% rise to $1,960,573 fit the same arc. In Bergen, the 5-year climbs are smaller in percentage terms, but still sizable in dollars. Franklin Lakes up $557,000, $36 to $1,526, $32, a 57.5% rise. Demarest up $505,471 to $1,388,103, 57.3%. Woodcliff Lake up $372,376 to $2,181,015, $47.9%. Ridgewood up $374,975 to $1,142,556, 48.9%. Ho-Ho Cuss up $410,258, $2,225,507, 50.3%. Old Tappan up $336,654 to $1,176,000, 40.1%. That's the 5-year base beneath the latest 12 months. A key nuance: dollar changes and percentage changes don't always tell the same story. In towns already well above $1 million, a 5% move can be a 6-figure leap. In towns closer to $800,000 or $900,000, 8% can be a $60,000 swing. For buyers chasing a budget, that difference matters. For sellers choosing when to list, it matters even more. The tactics in response mirror the data. On Long Beach Island, where ship bottom sits at $1,400,320 after a $64,851 annual gain, and Harvey Cedars at $25,526 after adding $106,501,000. Winning can be as simple and difficult as ignoring emotion. The case of the $999,000 listing won at $950,000 is a reminder. Comps and cadence matter more than excitement. In Montclair at $1081,750 after a $61,844 rise, or South Orange at $1035K, $189 after an $80,512 jump, pacing a search with clarity can be the difference between settling and landing a fit. In Westfield at $1,280,422 after a $63,307 gain, or Summit at $1,311,256 after a $105,697 rise. A seller's prep, staging, timing, and photo strategy can shave weeks off a sale and add thousands to the net. Market depth at the top is visible through specific benchmarks. Representing 7 of the 10 most expensive residential sales across 2024 and 2025 on a statewide multiple listing service is one measure of demand concentration. Another is the ability to reposition a home that previously stalled and then sell it for more than $250,000 above its prior list price. In Demarest, where the 1-year percentage gain hit 12.7%, that level of repositioning aligns with a town whose momentum already lifted typical values by $156,620 in 12 months. Even beyond the sales floor, credentials point to time-tested execution. A professional who has received a Circle of Excellence Award in New Jersey every year from 2013 to 2024, with multiple years at the platinum level, underlines a simple truth: consistency in high-stakes markets builds outcomes. Another in South Jersey, recognized for 11 consecutive years with a 5-star distinction through a national business magazine and honored in 2025 with a Regional Leadership Award, pairs recognition with a system that guarantees a sale or a buyout. Systems matter when numbers move as fast as these. Now, what's next? Base case, the signals suggest a slower but still resilient New Jersey market through 2026, with the widest strength concentrated in high-demand enclaves along the shore and in established northern suburbs. Mortgage rates have already shown they can slow growth and nudge some places into decline. If rates stabilize or drift down, that could cushion price softness. If they rise further, expect pressure to intensify on budgets in towns under $1,000, where each rate tick pulls a purchase just out of reach. 2 watch items stand out through December 2026. First, the path of mortgage rates. They have already slowed growth broadly and introduced pockets of decline. If borrowing costs ease, the towns that posted 1-year gains of $100K or more deal at $339 Texas, $174, Alpine at $286, $361, Lock Arbor at $242,000, $46, Saddle River at $270, $827, Bayhead at $174K, $477, Seagirt at $172K, $462K, Allenhurst at $166K, $804 may hold their lane with fewer headwinds. If costs climb, buyer pools will thin, and the trade-off will tilt toward longer days on market and sharper negotiation. Second, the behavior of supply in the luxury segment. If development timelines truly compress from a typical 12 months to 7 across more projects, and if high-end repositioning continues to turn stale listings into fast movers, fresh inventory could meet demand faster than expected in select zip codes, especially along the coast and in the high ground of Bergen and Essex. That would test how deep the buyer bench really is at $1,500,000, $2,000, and beyond. The range is wide. In a single state, one town adds $53,726 in a year to reach $1,026,961, while another adds $339,174 to reach $4,127,000. One 5-year arc lifts a town by $348,210 to $1,161,281. Another doubles a market, adding $1,115,504 to $2,185,129. Yet the thread is the same. Limited supply, strong focused demand, strategy and speed shaping outcomes where small percentages are big money. If you're buying, the data says pace your offer to the neighborhood, not the mood. In Long Beach Township at $1,927,028 after a $58,705 rise, an extra week of prep can be smarter than an extra $25,000. In South Orange at $1035, $189 after an $80,512 jump, remember that 8.4% growth in a year is real, but so is the chance to win by being precise. If you're selling in Montclair at $1081, $750 after a $61,844 rise, or in Florham Park at $981, $400 after a $67,084 gain, benchmark against what moved yesterday, not what sat last season. If you're building or renovating, timelines matter now more than ever. Shrinking a cycle from 12 months to 7 changes, holding costs, listing windows, and pricing power. For shore towns where 5-year gains range from 62% in Bayhead to 79.5% in Seagirt, hitting the right summer or fall can be the difference between watching and sold. The market is not uniform. In River Edge at $806,803 after a $57,671 rise, the same dollar increase is a larger percentage of the base than in Short Hills at $2,000, $202,226 after a $120,563 bump. In Glen Rock at $997K, $577 after a $63,314 gain, crossing the mental threshold of 7 figures is as much a psychology story as an economics one. In Westfield at $1,208,422 after a $63,307 increase, the premium is baked in. Pricing and presentation sharpen the edge. For context, pull one more line across the state. Roseland added $250,340 over 5 years, reaching $798,556. Livingston added $314,206 over 5 years, reaching $1,206, $961. Maplewood added $298,815, reaching $9,232. Montclair added $376,442, reaching $1,081,750. South Orange added $359,946, reaching $1,035,189. Short Hills added $821,885 in 5 years, reaching $2,202,202. $226. Summit added $401,860, reaching $1,311,256. Chatham added $374,743, reaching $1,257,148. Florham Park added $285,770, reaching $981,400. Mountain Lakes added $348,210, reaching $1,160,281. Westfield added $381,070, reaching $1,208,422. These 5-year trails tell you why the 1-year spikes have room to breathe. The base has been rising, not jumping from a standstill. In the deep north, Franklin Lakes' $557,000, $36 5-year rise to $1,526,000, $32, and Demarest's $505,000, $471, $538, $103 show that even away from the ocean, the long arc bent upward. Gloucester's 5-year gain of $365,924 to $1,112,000, Wyckoff's $325,957 to $1,083,888 broaden that bandwidth. In Englewood Cliffs, a 5-year addition of $470,162 brought the typical value to $1,670,5,663. In Alpine 101, $369 across 5 years put the town at $2,980, $806 before the latest annual surge. In Saddle River, a 5-year gain of $699,267 to $2,183,701 preceded the $207,827 1-year climb. No single number explains it, but together they point to a market that is bifurcated and resilient, slowed by rates, powered by scarcity, and amplified by professional execution. The U.S., number $359,070 in December, up 0.1%, is the quiet middle of the national story. New Jersey's fastest risers are the loud edges. Between them sits the buyer or seller facing a decision. A year from now, the scoreboard will look different. Some of today's leaders, Deal, Alpine, Loch Arbor, Saddle River, may still dominate the dollar change list. Others, South Orange, Summit, Florham Park, may hold steadier ground with mid-single-digit percentage gains. The risk is obvious. If rates climb, the air gets thinner, and the pool of buyers shrinks a little more with each quarter point. The upside is equally clear. If build cycles compress in the luxury tier, and if marketing precision continues to turn over inventory quickly, liquidity at the top could stay surprisingly strong, even in a slower macro. The path forward is local. In Allenhurst at $2,180.29 after a $166,804 annual rise and a 104.3% 5-year surge, timing and narrative matter. In Seagirt at $2,275,343 after a $172,462 annual gain and a $1,794 5-year climb, the difference between listing now and listing in 3 months is more than a calendar detail. In Bayhead at $322,964 after an $888,952 5-year increase, each 0.1% in today's rate shows up in tomorrow's offer. In Franklin Lakes at $1,526,032 after a $557,036 5-year rise and a $145,864 1-year surge. The demand base is wide enough to catch a well-positioned home and propel it to closing. If you're watching the market, anchor to the numbers and the names. Deal, $4,127,662 and up, $339,174 year over year. Alpine, $2,981, $80690, $286,361, Lock Arbor, $2,880,330 and up, $242,046. Saddle River, $2,180,3727 and up, $207,827. Bayhead, $2,322,964 and up, $174,477. Seagirt, $2,275,343 and up, $172,462. Allenhurst, $2,185,129 and up, $166,804. Demarest, 1,380 cases, $103 and up, $156,620. Franklin Lakes, $1,526,032 and up, $145,864. Manteloking, $1,960,573 and up, $138,872. Inglewood Cliffs, $1,675,663 and up, $120,725. Short Hills, $2,226 and up, $120,563. Spring Lake, $1,347,475 and up, $119,657. Summit, $1,311,256 and up, $105,697. Harvey Cedars, $2,050, $3,126 and up, $106,511. This is the heat map for the year that ended in December 2027. It shows where the market had the most push. It offers a baseline to test the next move. New Jersey's story right now is simple and complicated at once. Simple because the drivers, scarcity, rates, and targeted demand are visible. Complicated because the answers are hyper-local, street by street. The one-year leaderboard is stacked with oceanfronts and hill towns. The 5-year list doubles down on the same. The lesson is not to chase the biggest number. It's to understand the neighborhood's slope and move with it. Base case, a steadier, slower climb through 26 and 8 with the strongest traction in the same corridors that just pulled off 6-figure gains. Watch mortgage rates like a hawk. Watch supply in the luxury tier just as closely. Together, they'll decide whether a town that just added $120,000 in a year can do it again, or whether it settles for half that in a longer negotiation. If you want more cinematic, data-rich breakdowns of local markets like this, follow along.